It's a wild world out there, but some worlds are even wilder. Hi, my name is Tyler Hapney, and you're listening to Dungeons and Dystopias. Thank you for listening. Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of Dungeons and Dystopias. I am your game master and host, Tyler Hapney. I've run hundreds of sessions of Cyberpunk Red and Dungeons & Dragons combined, and this podcast is a way for me to reconcile my thoughts on both of those systems. We're taking a small break from our series on the Night City 2045 sourcebook to instead go back to Dungeons & Dragons. And we are going to instead be continuing our series on the Dungeons & Dragons classes. And this time, instead of the 5e version, I figured I'll be covering the D&D 2024 version. And probably will be from here on out, just because at this point, you can only fight the wave of inevitability for so long. I think I'm going to have to start really locking in on D&D 2024, which is, I guess it's where things are going, so you just got to have to learn it. And obviously, I've spent tons of time with D&D 2024 already, outside of the podcast, so I don't know. I just like 5e. I just feel like I like 5e more. I don't know. But, well, it doesn't matter. This is D&D 2024. Let's talk about the Wizard class in D&D 2024. 5.5e, whatever you want to call it. Yes, Wizards. They are one of the magical classes of Dungeons & Dragons. And I'd say they might be the de facto magical class because they're personally my favorite class. I love Wizards. If we're going to be playing in a D&D campaign, there's a good chance I'll pick Wizard. And I'm proud of that fact. I like being a wizard. I like casting Fireball, and I like doing all the other crazy spells that wizards get. I played Sorcerer once or twice. It's pretty all right. Don't mind it. I liked Divine Soul Sorcerer a whole lot. But when it comes to Wizard, I just have a very special spot in my heart for our spell-slinging book nerds. And personally, just some of my favorite gameplay I've ever had as a wizard. So, what's kind of the shtick behind a wizard? Well, wizards are people who are specialized entirely in magic. They probably aren't really great at fighting, or, anything really majorly physical. But these guys are smart, and typically pretty wise. But that could also lead them to be maybe a bit arrogant, depending on how you roleplay your wizard. But the wizard's main primary ability score is intelligence, obviously. The smarter your wizard is, the better they're going to be at being a wizard. Your hit point die is the lowest of any class. It is a D6 per wizard level. That is the lowest hit dice you can get. And, it makes sense. Wizards are usually meant to be in the back and not frontliners. So, they're pretty squishy. Level 1 wizard is, it's a rough experience. I'll tell you that. Saving throw proficiencies are intelligence and wisdom. They get skill proficiencies from Arcana, History, Insight, Investigation, Medicine, Nature, and Religion. So all of the intelligence and wisdom-based proficiencies, at least as far as I can tell. No perception. So not all of the wisdom-based ones. No insight either. Oh, wait, no, there's insight. Weapon proficiencies. Simple weapons. So, a stick. Like something really basic. You don't need an actual weapon as a wizard. All you need is your mind. You have no armor training, which means you cannot wear any armor. And then your starting equipment is 2 daggers with an arcane focus, robe, spellbook, scholar's pack, and 5 gold. Which is pretty good. The arcane focus is nice. It does clarify that your arcane focus is your quarterstaff, and for those who don't know, an arcane focus is something that a wizard can utilize to cast their spells without needing the reagents. So you'd be casting your spells out of your staff, and it would be taking a lot of the necessary reagents from the spell for you. That is, of course, if you choose not to do it the old-fashioned way and use the reagents anyway. I personally think that's a really cool thing to do sometimes when your character doesn't have their focus. So, wizard class features. Obviously, it goes 1 to 20 as per usual. To be honest with you, a lot of the main features we're going to go through, and it's going to be pretty quick. But the basic bread and butter of wizards is spellcasting. Spellcasting. You are able to cast spells. There are tons of spells. In fact, wizards, I believe, know the most spells. And they are capable of copying other spells out of spell books and into their own. And then you start with 4 spells, and then each level you get 2 spells added to your spell book. And then obviously, as per D&D rules, the more levels you increase, the higher level your spells will become, and the more crazy stuff you're able to do. If you don't know any of that, that's crazy. It's D&D. It's just how D&D magic works. Yeah, spell books are incredibly important to a wizard. They aren't like sorcerers who have this sort of natural innate talent to cast their magic. They need the actual spell book itself and the knowledge of the spells in order to cast them. In this sense, a wizard is a lot more like a nerd than a sorcerer or a cleric or even a warlock, because the wizard is the only class that you have to study. You have to pull all-nighters to get. But yeah, there you go. I mean, wizards, they're very, very smart, but they need that spell book. They need it, need it, need it. At level 1, you get Ritual Adept, which is pretty useful. If you have a spell that has a ritual tag and in your spell book, you don't have to have the spell prepared, and you can cast the spell as a ritual, so it doesn't take a spell slot. It's pretty great. It's pretty great to just be able to cast any ritual you have. But usually, keep in mind, rituals take time. Usually like 5-10 minutes. They usually take. So I mean, it can really depend on whether or not that's even worthwhile if you're like in the middle of a dungeon and maybe have like a time crunch. Arcane Recovery. This is a classic. This is in 5e, though I think it was named something else. You can choose expended spell slots to recover on a short rest. Spell slots can have a combined level equal to no more than half your wizard level, round up. And none of the slots can be level 6 or higher. And the example they give is if you're a level 4 wizard, you get 2 levels worth of spell slots, regaining either 1 level 2 spell slot or 2 level 1 spell slots. You can only do that once per long rest, so definitely make sure you're making it worthwhile when you use this ability. A lot of this is pretty par for the course in terms of basically it's the same thing that they had in 5e. Scholar. I believe this is new. You do get a new skill at level 2. You get Arcana, History, Investigation, Medicine, Nature, or Religion. And you get Expertise in this skill. Yes, that is new. Wizards in D&D 2024 get Expertise in a skill. That is not something that was in 5e. Arcane Traditions this time around are Abjurer, Bladesinger, Diviner, Evoker, and Illusionist. Very classic. We'll get back to those in a second, because we're going to talk about the rest of the milestone, the capstones here, because guess what? There aren't that many. You're going to be pretty impressed by how big this jump is here coming up. Level 4 ability score improvement. As per usual, you get a ability score improvement at levels 4, 8, 12, and 16. At level 5, you get Memorize spell. Whenever you finish a short rest, you can study your spellbook and replace one of the wizard spells you have prepared for your spellcasting feature with another level spell from the book. So you can replace spells out, maybe swap them around a bit. All right. So after level 5, you might be wondering, well, when's the next milestone here? When's the next feature that we get? Well, I'll tell you. Level 18. I'm not joking. It goes from level 5 straight to level 18, where you have unlocked Spell Mastery. Once again, it is important to remind everybody, usually campaigns do not reach level 18. It's typically not very common. You've achieved such mastery over certain spells that you can cast them at will. Choose a level 1 and a level 2 spell in your spellbook. You always have these spells prepared. You can cast them at their lowest level without expending a spell slot, which is really good. I mean, Scorching Ray just for free all the time as like a cantrip is great. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can study your spell book and replace one of the spells with an eligible spell of the same level from the book. Level 19, you get Epic Boon, which is a new thing with D&D 2024. It's an epic boon feat, which there are a ton of them. And then they actually recommend the Boon of Spell Recall, which increases intelligence, wisdom, or charisma by 1 to a maximum of 30, which is really good. And then whenever you cast a spell with a level 1 to 4 slot, roll 1d4. If the number you roll is the same as the slot's level, the slot isn't expended. That is really good. You can definitely take advantage of that. Maybe cast Fireball a couple times for free. Who knows? And level 20. Same thing as kind of 5e. We've got our signature spells. This is your capstone for wizard. Once again, very rarely will anyone reach level 20 wizard. Choose 2 level 3 spells in your spellbook as your signature spells. You always have these spells prepared. You can cast each of them once at level 3 without expending a spell slot. When you do so, you can't cast them this way again until you finish a short or long rest. To cast either spell at a higher level, you must expend a spell slot. That's okay. It's all right. Level 3 spells is cool, so you get a free fireball and maybe a free flight. That's neat. Maybe a free haste. Level 20 though, I don't know if it's worth it necessarily. It's not the greatest capstone, all things considered. 2 level 3 spells for free is like, it's pretty good. Don't get me wrong, but it's not level 20 good. You know, that's just my opinion on it. But let's talk about some of these subclasses. And the one I'm going to bring up right now is the Diviner, because Divination Wizard has always been a favorite of mine, just because of the way it operates and the things you could do with it. So what is a Divination Wizard? Well, at level 3, a Divination Savant. Oh, first off, I should say, Divination Wizard are they're good at telling the future and good with time. They're oracles, essentially. They get 2 wizard levels from the Divination School for free. And then whenever you get access to a new level of spell slots in this class, you can add 1 wizard spell from the Divination School to your spellbook for free. So there you go. You get free divination spells. And I'm assuming, just for all of the other schools, it's basically going to be the same. And then here's the big thing. Important. Divination wizards, whenever they finish a long rest, roll 2d20s, and then they record the numbers rolled. So let's say I roll 2d20s and get an 18 and a 5. You can replace any d20 test made by you or a creature that you can see with one of these foretelling rolls. You must choose to do so before the roll, and you can replace the roll in this way only once per turn. So let's say I have an ally who misses, and he rolls like a 2. I could say, actually, you rolled an 18, and then he hits, and maybe that's like an important hit that kills the boss. Alternatively, and the enemy could attack my friend and roll an 18, and I could say, actually, you roll a 5. And just like that. Well, I mean, you have to choose to do so before the roll. I guess this is a bad example. Basically, you just have to, when you think maybe your friend might miss, or maybe, an enemy might hit, you predict. You're predicting ahead of time. But yes, you need to do so before the roll. That's an important rule that even I just forgot. But yes, do remember that. Level 6, Expert Divination. Divination comes so easily to you that it expends only a fraction of your spellcasting efforts. When you cast a divination spell using a level 2 plus level 2 plus spell slot, you regain 1 expended spell slot. The slot you regain must be of a level lower than the slot you expended and can't be higher than level 5. That's cool. You get some spell slots back. The Third Eye. At level 10, you can increase your powers of perception. As a bonus action, choose one of the following benefits, which lasts until you start a short or long rest. You can't use this feature again until you finish a short or long rest. You get either dark vision up to a range of 120 feet. You get any language at level 10, which is really good. Or you get see invisibility without expending a spell slot. All of those are very good. Wow. Those are very, very good. And then level 14, you get greater portent. You get 3 d20s for your portent feature rather than 2. Yeah, that's Divination Wizard. Pretty powerful if used correctly. And then there is the other subclass I want to talk about. There's like 5 of them, but this one I use a lot is Evoker. The Evocation Wizard, everyone knows it. It's your Fireball Wizard. Choose 2 wizard spells from the evocation school, each of which must be no higher than level 2, and add them to your spell. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing as divination, but it's evocation. Level 3, you get potent cantrip. Your damaging cantrips affect even creatures that avoid the brunt of the effect. When you cast a cantrip at a creature and you miss with the attack roll, or the target succeeds on a saving throw, the target takes half the cantrip's damage, but suffers no additional effect from the cantrip. So, even then, you're dealing damage no matter what as an evocation wizard, because you are a master of elements. Sculpt spells. This one is really, honestly, I think a lot of the reason people pick up Evoker Wizard. When you cast an evocation spell that affects other creatures that you can see, you can choose a number of them equal to 1 plus the spell's level. So let's say if we're doing Fireball, that would be 4 people. The chosen creatures automatically succeed on their saving throws against the spell, and they take no damage if they would normally take half damage on a successful save. So you can cast Fireball on your friends, and they don't take any damage. This is extremely helpful for long-term fights, or just big fights in general. Empowered Evocation. Whenever you cast a spell wizard from the Evocation School, you can then add your Intelligence modifier to 1 damage roll of that spell, which means you can maybe add 5 damage to your Fireball, which could be good. And then level 14, you get Overchannel. You can increase the power of your spells. When you cast a wizard spell with a spell slot of 1 to 5 that deals damage, you can deal maximum damage with that spell on the turn you cast it. The first time you do so, you suffer no adverse effect. If you use this feature again before you finish a long rest, however, you take 2d12 necrotic damage for each level of the spell slot immediately after you cast it. That could be bad. That could be, if you cast a 5th level spell, that's 10d12 necrotic damage. This damage ignores resistance and immunity. Each time you use this feature again before finishing a long rest, the necrotic damage per spell increases by 1d12, which could mean a lot of damage. It could be really bad for a wizard, depending on what spells they're casting. But yes, wizards. Mighty, powerful wizards with some amazing spells. We haven't even gotten into the actual spells that wizards can do, but let me tell you, they're very powerful and very cool. But we are going to have to get into our monster of the week. And since it's been a little bit, I'm thinking we might want to talk about some of the more interesting D&D creatures. And you know what? Today, I think I want to talk about the D&D creature that you always hear about in many different stories and all the other things. It is the Lazy DM's panic button for if he needs a plot hook fast. And that is the Tarrasque. We're going to be talking about the Tarrasque, everybody. What is a Tarrasque? Well, Tarrasque is a giant kaiju. It's the D&D kaiju, essentially. They are these giant wizard creatures, usually about maybe the size of a city, or at least a city block. Towering, huge, dinosaur-like creatures that historically like to rest beneath areas and sleep for a bit, and then they'll wake up and cause a huge ruckus and be a huge campaign plot point because, you know, maybe a wizard or something is trying to summon a Tarrasque. Who knows? But all that matters is these guys are tough. You want to know what their CR is? 30. Yeah, good luck fighting one of these guys in general. But, you know, a level 20 party could probably do it, to be honest with you. Probably pretty easy, too. It has 5 attacks, 1 with its bite, 2 with its claws, 1 with its horns, and 1 with its tail. And then if it is bitten you, it can in fact swallow you instead, which of course means it can't eat you, as many creatures in D&D can. It has Frightful Presence, which each creature of the Tarrasque choice within 120 feet of it, and aware of it, must succeed on a DC 17 Wisdom saving throw to become frightened. You can, of course, repeat the saving throw at the end of each of your turns, with a disadvantage if the Tarrasque is within line of sight. But Frightful Presence is what's going to get a lot of the citizens running away and running for their lives and screaming, Tarrasque, Tarrasque, like, you know, Godzilla. And it has, of course, 3 legendary actions, as if all of, 5 attacks wasn't bad enough. It has, it can move, it can attack, and it can chop people, and just cast Swallow as a legendary action, which means that you can bite you and then swallow you, like just in the same turn. It's very scary. It is very potentially scary, depending on how smart the Tarrasque in question is. It has magic resistance and a reflective carapace. Anytime the Tarrasque is targeted by a magic missile spell, a line spell, or a spell that requires a ranged attack roll, on a roll of d6. On a 1 to 5, the Tarrasque is just completely unaffected. On a 6, the Tarrasque is unaffected, and the effect is reflected back at the caster, as though it originated from the Tarrasque, turning the caster to the target. So, yeah, you just can't target it with any spells that require a ranged attack roll, or a magic missile, or a line spell. You just can't. That definitely makes it a lot harder to take on the Tarrasque. But yeah, if you ever encounter Tarrasque, just generally keep in mind you are fighting Godzilla, and if you're doing it solo, you're probably gonna die. It'll probably bite you, and then it'll probably swallow you, and then that'll be it. So yeah, my advice: don't take on a Tarrasque on your own. Should be pretty obvious, but you never know. Some D&D players are pretty crazy. All right, well, that'll be it for us this week. Thank you so much for listening. Please come back next week where we continue our series on Night City 2045. Looking forward to talking more about the mainland, or the central island of Night City. That was exciting, but as for now, I'm Tyler Habney. This has been Dungeons & Dystopias, and thank you so much for listening.